So they've decided they're not really pro. I mean, there's no other way to put it. They're not pro renewable energy. So they are getting rid of that tax credit in 2026.
What's their argument?
And that's why I say that solar is like an umbrella to what's going on. All that goes on around you, my clients don't know about it.
Yeah.
They never knew about a public benefits charge.
David Mansulla with SunTastic Solutions. We have a lot to go over. I'm going to try to be as not ignorant as I am when it comes to solar. There's some things that I came across in my research. Obviously, thank you for filling out the form. I got to learn a little bit about you, and I've known you from eCar. But I like to have a controversial topic here and there.
Sure.
So, and I don't think that that's something that people also don't think about. So this is going to kind of come from a viewer or a listener who is maybe curious about solar, maybe skeptic about the government interference, maybe skeptic about some of the things that solar brings and maybe long-term costs. So I want to go, before we do all of that, the facts, the information, the important stuff of why you're here today, I want to go through your history. You said that you, and I actually didn't know this about you, United States Air Force. How many years did you serve?
4.
You served 4.
Yeah, it was one of those things where year 4, I was like, do I want to stay in for 20? Or do I want to, not make this my career? And I decided to, it was the end of the Cold War. So USSR had just broken apart. And it was kind of like, okay, what are we doing here now? And we were actually, I was in reconnaissance. And so what reconnaissance was doing then was finding the pot growers on like the big island of Hawaii and stuff like that. I was like, this isn't what I signed up for.
Right.
It's cool, but I didn't want to stay in for 20 years.
Why the military?
Military, for me, I was in the living in a very rough city in Massachusetts, Brockton, Massachusetts.
I know Brockton.
Yeah.
Only because I bowled there.
Yeah, it's a tough city. So, having come from Brockton, it was a way out for me, to be honest. It was a way to get out. I put on my dream sheet, what they call it, 3 places I wanted to end up: Guam, Philippines, and Hawaii. So they must have said, this guy wants to be an islander. So they stuck me out in Hawaii. It was great 4 years.
What years were those?
That was back in the 90s. Yeah. Long time ago.
So military, what did you learn in your 4 years?
Wow. We would do 24-hour or more missions, real world missions of things that were happening in the world, all top secret, that kind of stuff. But I would see the world in a different perspective. Because of that, we'd work as a team. You have to work as a team. And so the discipline, the teamwork, I've tried to bring that, throughout the rest of my life.
Yeah. And so bring me to where you get into SunTastic Solutions. How long ago? What were you doing before? Why the pivot?
Sure. So I was managing different retail stores like Brookstone. I was a manager at Bed Bath & Beyond, places like that. And then Amazon came and crushed that business. So I was looking for something else. I looked around and I said, hey, solar's good. Solar's, it's good for the environment. It's good for homeowners. They save money. So it kind of jumped out at me. And I'm very focused on customer service. I feel like if you're really good at customer service, you're going to be good at sales.
Yeah. I agree.
So, I said, let's just apply my skills. Started with somebody else and won't mention who they were. They wouldn't know good customer service if it hit them in the head. So I said, okay, look, you've done management. You can do this. Let's reinvent ourselves. And that's where SunTastic Solutions came from.
And you say reinvent yourself, and I think that's a perfect segue. I had no idea what I had no idea what a solar broker was until I met you and did a little bit of diving. And it's very similar to my line of work in insurance. I'm an insurance agent that has other options for a prospective client, right? Yeah. I can find an auto, home, life insurance policy. Actually, so backtrack, I can do an auto, home policy with a bunch of different carriers. I would assume solar is very similar in that you go out and find the best deal for the client.
Correct.
I want to know what goes into that, because solar seems like it's this very just popular product. Let's call it a product that helps people save money. Now you have your companies that, and again, we won't for the sake of non-competes and whatever it is, we won't throw companies out there, but let's just say solar company A, solar company B, solar company C, and you said you have about a half a dozen that you can go through.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. What's the difference between the all of them? I think that's a big question I have, because again, A, B, and C, all come and knock on my door and say the same thing. Hey, I know your friends across the street, Jim and Ann, and they just did solar, and I'll look across the street. I'm like, you've been saying this for 3 years. I don't see any solar panels on their roof. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I get curious as to what is the difference between the carriers or the companies.
Sure. The biggest difference is what I call mixed solar. A lot of this solar out there is mixed solar. So in other words, what they do is they sell, and I'm being blunt here, like they'll sell the cheapest systems they can
Yeah.
to maximize their profits. Whereas what I do is I have 6 years in this business. I have a lot of knowledge about what solar is better solar, because all solar looks similar,
Right.
but it's very, very different. So what I do is I see who's selling what panels, inverters, systems. Then we negotiate contracts with them. So if I'm giving them 15 or 20 deals, I have a lot more buying power than you as an individual do. So I talk with them, I talk with somebody else. And so then what I can do is I work with different platforms and design different solar systems. Because one house, one panel might be able to say handle 27 panels, but with a different panel, I might be able to put 33 on or something like that. So
Sure.
it varies. Every house is very unique. But getting back to your question, because I work with multiple companies, I can see what everybody has, design, and then see what's right for each home. And then I do the same thing with the contracts, because one contract that a financer might have can change the whole deal.
Right.
So I'm looking at all that for the homeowners.
So let's go in through it, right? In basic and summary, what solar's supposed to do is supposed to allow you to create your own energy, in turn reduce your utility bills.
Right.
That has been around, and I think probably a decade in the real world. Even though I've been, out of college for 15, 16 years, I count my real world experience when my career started.
Yep.
When I started in insurance and when I had bought a house, that was when the real world. And I think that's kind of when I started seeing solar panels pop up.
Sure.
Might have existed before at a residential landscape, but it may or may not. What's when you think about myths, and I'll throw you some, but let's have you demystify some myths that people have. Number one, I think people think solar is very expensive. Number two, I don't know if this is more so a myth or just a preference, but they don't want them on their roof. And I'll say that, it's tough here. We have a ton of sunlight. We have a ton of sunlight here, and we just don't want it to ruin the aesthetic of our property.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start there. What do you have to say about that?
Sure. With aesthetics, I had one of my brochures with me now, because I actually put a home on my brochure that after the install was done, I honestly would say inside or outside of the business, the home actually looked better. It just looks smarter, with the solar on it. And that homeowner's saving money.
Sure.
And in real terms, that property is now more valuable.
How? I read that. I'm curious to know how, because again, I'll go back and forth just again, I'm ignorant when it comes to solar.
Sure.
The value of what is it is it being sold that long term for the next person who buys my house, let's just say, your energy bill is going to be less. Can't they opt out of the solar panels? And
well, I mean, it's kind of on the house, right?
Yeah.
And especially here in Connecticut, we're like the third highest, sometimes second highest in the country. So why wouldn't you want cheaper energy?
Yeah.
We're at about 35 cents a kilowatt.
Mm.
I've sold solar as cheap as 10 cents a kilowatt.
Wow.
So if that homeowner, let's say, bought the system, okay, because you could buy or you could lease.
Sure.
Let's just say they bought the system, and the system's producing 19,000 kilowatts a year. Well, now, honestly, they could pretty much in Connecticut, they could sell that system for what they feel is a reasonable price and increase the value of their property. Now, when you have a lease, it's a little different, right? Because somebody is taking it over.
Mm-hmm.
But my homeowners have the option to buy before they sell. So after year 5 or when they sell, they could go ahead and opt to buy the system and then roll it into the price of the home. The other thing that you have to keep in mind with this is my homeowners are signing an interconnection agreement with Eversource.
Sure.
So that interconnection agreement is you, the homeowner, sell the electricity to Eversource, and we give you back 1 kilowatt. So it's 1 kilowatt for 1 kilowatt.
Mm.
Now, this is tough for Eversource because they're maintaining the whole grid for you for like $9 a month.
Right.
Right. So it's tough for them.
Ooh, that is ugly.
But that's not my problem.
No,
That's
I
not
know
my
that that
that's
is
not my problem.
crazy.
It is crazy. And that's why it won't stay like that. Like California's already shifted to, you give us a kilowatt, we'll give you 0.75 back.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to charge you a little bit more because you're a solar customer. As California goes, so goes Connecticut, right? So we'll come to something like that. That's why I've said this is the golden age of going solar here in Connecticut.
We have about a decade, right, left into, and maybe correct me if I did my research the right way. I saw that the Inflation Reduction Act made it that these discounts, specifically for the tax breaks and being able to write it off as a deduction when you install solar, is at 30% now, and by the year 2033, it's going to be about 22%.
So that's changed.
That's already changed.
That's already changed.
Okay,
so
what do we
it's
got?
changed with this government that's come in now.
Mm-hmm.
So they've decided they're not really pro. I mean, there's no other way to put it. They're not pro renewable energy. So they are getting rid of that tax credit in 2026.
What's their argument?
You'd have to honestly ask them. But I know that they're pushing big oil. They're pushing, gasoline, coal. My dad, I'm not against these things.
Sure.
My dad ran 6 oil trunks in the city of Brockton. So I get it, but that was also in the 1950s and 60s. So, like, oil had its place. We still need it.
Right.
But with 8 billion people in the world, we got to find other sources of energy. It's as simple as that.
So here's my controversial take, right?
Sure.
There's 8 billion people in the world. I would say, even with solar being popular, give me, what's the years? How many years has solar been kind of coming in? It's not mainstream yet, but is it getting there?
It's definitely getting there. But
Yeah.
you have to go back. Solar should have been popular a lot longer.
Okay.
Einstein figured solar out.
Sure.
So what that was back in 1921, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually why he got the Nobel Prize, because he figured out it's not just a life. It isn't just a wave. It's also a particle. And when it hits certain materials, it creates electricity.
Interesting.
That was genius.
Yeah.
The best thing we could have done is ran with that. What we did is in the 50s, we started putting it in satellites and things like that.
Monetize.
Yeah, but we should have pushed for solar right then and there.
Yeah. So, and again, going back to like what this administration's doing, my utility bills, even in the previous administration, specifically electric, in the summer months, $500 a month, $480 a month.
Yeah.
The winter months, $325.
Yeah.
That's relatively high still, I think, in my opinion.
I'm seeing bills of $1,000 now
It's insane.
for a same size house.
So the credit goes away in 2026. It completely vanishes?
Yes, for now. But the thing is, the way I put it is the genie is out of the bottle. So many people have seen the value of solar that it will come back around. You can't, it was different than it was 10 years ago because, when I first came in 6 years ago, people were like, oh, those solar panels, they leak oil. Well, there's no oil in a solar panel. So, like, what are you talking about? So, all kinds of crazy things were out there, especially on Facebook and things like that. So, I'd constantly be,
Going back and forth.
yeah, I'd be going back and forth with people, educating
Sure.
the public about solar.
Yeah. So okay, so what's that look like now for, let's just say, someone like me, right?
Mhm.
Um, and I was trying to wrap my brain around this. The 30% credit by 2026 is going to be completely gone away,
Yep.
which we can maybe pop this in here. I think the first 3 months next year you're offering a free promotion. You want to throw that in there quickly?
Yeah, sure. So, this time of year when people go solar, like if I have you installed in December, well, you're going solar in the darkest part of the year,
Sure.
right? So what happens is they would have a solar bill and they'd have an electric bill. So what I do this time of the year is I like to pick up the first 3 months. So that pushes them out to like March or so, and then the days are getting longer, and they see the Eversource bill go into the ground, so to speak. And if I'm able to get them 100% offset, they won't see that come back for a long time.
Interesting. So, and I think that's kind of was my point with the credit. I think with anybody who makes an investment, I think that's an investment in yourself, in your property, in basically trying to figure a way to cut costs with considering how expensive life is, inflation, you name it. We all see it, hear it, the whole nine. With the credit, the tax credit, is that a one-time credit or was that a every single year credit?
Sure. So there's a little bit of confusion about this, right? So if you are going ahead and probably last year about 50% of my homeowners bought their solar system. Now they want to go ahead and know how long is it going to take for them to get their investment back, right? But right now, um, most people are going with a lease to own option after year 5.
What's the difference?
But if you're going it with a lease, right? How much money are you putting down?
Probably zero,
Zero.
right? Yeah.
So you don't that whole strategy of saying, well, when am I going to get paid back?
Mhm.
You're getting money right away.
Sure.
We're dropping your bill right away. Now after year 5, you get a chance to buy out a used system that's already had 30% of it paid for by the federal government. So now for most of my homeowners, it's like a used car.
So it basically ends up being the same thing,
And then they're not going to have a bill.
right? People like those tax write-offs, though. The tax deduction, I
Yeah,
should say.
they do, but there's different things. Like when you lease, somebody's going to take care of that system for 25 years.
Mhm.
And if you're paying, let's just say your average bill is 400 a month. I don't know.
Yeah, it's probably about that.
Okay, so if it's 400 a month, then I could bring you down to, 235, and somebody else is taking care of the system. That has a real value to it.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I could either have an escalator in there if you feel like you're going to be moving in the next 10 years, or I could take an escalator out.
What's an escalator?
So an escalator is most times when people buy a solar, most homeowners are in their home for about 7 to 10 years. So when I put a 2.99% escalator in there, it makes their payments cheaper. So that if they end up selling in 10 years, they got the best deal for going solar, and yet that interconnection with Eversource is still valid for another 10 years, so 20 years total.
Can we discuss quickly, which I think is a pretty important topic, energy in itself? Let's just use Eversource. Let's just use Eversource. They have a supply fee and a delivery charge. What? Why? What is that about?
You know what? I mean, you're kind of asking the wrong person on that.
Okay.
Honestly, but and then there's a lot of there's obfuscation. Like there's a lot of cloudiness in the whole bill. Like for example, thing that's upset people the most is the public benefits bill. Well, the very term public benefits says what? I'm benefiting you, the public.
Sure.
Right, but 74% of that was to benefit the nuclear power plant, Millstone.
I see.
Right. So even disclaimer, I'm not, this is everything that I read.
Observation and what
Yeah.
you've speculated about it.
This is what I've read where the money went. So if it's changed, okay, open to that. But that's from what I've read. So why are we saying it's public benefit? Well, they were saying because during COVID, some people didn't pay their bill. So now everybody has to pay their bill. That was a small portion.
That was a very small portion.
Yeah, it was a very small
Yeah.
portion. But why would you say that's the name of the bill? Why would you say that that's the when you go and like I'm working on a solar system for somebody in Waterford, they paid almost $70 in public benefit.
Wow.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of money. You know, I guess. But sorry.
Well, I was gonna say, so when you go solar, right? If you need 10,000 kilowatts a year, your system produces 10,000 kilowatts a year. That public benefit goes away because you're not, your give and take is the same.
And energy, that and that's one of the things that's impacting people: energy, grocery bills, and gas. I think those three things. Energy doesn't seem to be going down. I was talking to my wife about it. Our bill is, and granted, we are not as conservative when it comes to turning things off. And, we have 3 children. We are running the dishwasher. We're running the laundry. We do it quite frequently. We have a pool in the summer. We have a bounce house. So, the AC unit, that's all, creating, I would assume a pretty substantial bill. I get weary, and kind of going back to, maybe 5 minutes ago, I get weary, and this is the controversial part of me, and maybe just ignorance is what I'll call it. But I get weary with government interference when it comes to some of these things. So the government saying, hey, we're gonna pull out of this. To me, it seems like less hands in the pot and let the market kind of get back to what it should or not. We'll see. But I think maybe that could be why there isn't this wide adoption of solar. There's a lot of things out there that people are against solar. I don't have a strong opinion on one or the other. I like to just learn about it. And, I'm curious to see what direction happens in the next 5 to 10 years with energy, with solar. What's your outlook? Like, what do you think for the future for solar?
Like I said, the genie's out of the bottle. If I could cut somebody's bill, around half, that's substantial money in their pocket. And, just going back to the government getting their hands out of it, again, the government is subsidizing oil, nuclear, gas,
insurance,
all of it. Yeah, they're subsidizing that. But the difference is, and this is where Americans should be excited, the difference is with the solar subsidy, it went into the homeowner's hands. It wasn't going to the big corporate office. It was going into the homeowner's hands so that they could get cheaper power. Like a lot of people thought about this and said, hey, yeah, we want to push solar. And we're not the only ones. A lot of first world countries are just looking at solar and moving in that direction. Right. So do we want to be left behind?
Yeah.
Or do we want to be leaders in America?
Right.
So people should take the time as individual homeowners and assess it.
Right. And the whole thing is about getting to net zero emissions, right? That's the whole idea. And again, this is from my, you say you do a lot of reading and all that stuff, and you develop a framework or a perception of what you're reading to say, okay, this is what I think is happening or I believe is happening. I would look at, and this is an educational moment, so this isn't me demystifying solar. I think it's great. Again, I would love to slash my bill in half. But I think when we see it in our face, specifically with like news and media of like, we are polluting the world. And, I think the number I had heard is like America is only 3% of population or of pollution when it comes to this stuff. It's not a big number, but then we hear from government officials as if it's like our global duty to handle some of these things. And, you'll see, for example, a specific person who's advocating for, clean energy and electric cars and not gas stoves, yet they fly their private jets across the country to different places. I'm not here to make this a political statement. It's just more so an observation of like what's the truth when we're being told this, and it kind of seems like they're they're robbing Peter to pay Paul, if
All
you
right.
will.
I want to give you an example from my past.
Hmm.
Right, I'm getting to that point where I'm an older guy. Right, I am. So, but I remember my mom. We had a really nice house in the city of Brockton, and I remember her going outside and taking a razor blade and scraping the soot off the front window. You'd
From
literally see the soot roll off the window as she'd scrape it. That's how bad emissions were.
mm,
And then it was, I believe it was Nixon who signed like the Clean Air Act in like 1971.
yep.
And every year car emissions had to get better.
Hmm.
Now that was a Republican government, right?
Hmm.
That was bringing that change that America needed.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. It's about making change. And now, I mean, nobody talked about global warming back then.
No.
No, and now you can deny it, but you look at the science of it. Look at the world's getting warmer.
It is getting warmer. However, I would say I heard the other day actually that it's been colder in the last like year or two than it had the previous, but it's still statistically trending. Right. Yeah. Yeah. This is good, and this is good for people to hear because a perspective of somebody who, again, been homeowner for 10 years now, not exactly sure what direction to go with solar, and how it applies. Again, I think that the conception I have is that's going to wipe my energy bill completely, right? Like I pay $500, it's going to make it go away. Could that happen?
So this is a really good point that everybody needs to understand. Because why could I get one homeowner, his electricity for 10 cents a kilowatt? Why can I get somebody else? They're going to be more closer towards 22 cents a kilowatt. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because every home is different. So the pitch of the roof, the direction of the roof to the sun, shading, all of that comes into it. So
Sure.
it's not a commodity that we're going to say this value is $2.99. I don't know, whatever. And so it should be that way for everyone. It's not like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Let's go through your process, right? Your discovery. You mentioned here that you design systems only after a discovery discussion with the homeowner.
Right.
Walk us through that. What kind of questions are you asking the homeowner, and how does that process ensure that a solar solution fits their specific needs?
Sure. So the first thing I ask is, what is your goals for going solar? So I mean, I could just go get your bill and design a cookie cutter solar system for you and go, here you go. Well, take it or leave it. I'm out. Or what I could say, what are your goals? Is your family going to still stay with 3 kids? Are you going to have 6 kids? What's going to be happening? Do you want to go? Are you going to be buying an EV in the next 5 years? Are you going, or a few years? Are you going to be changing over to mini splits? What's happening
Mm-hmm.
in your world so that I can build the system or understand that when I'm building it, you may want to upgrade to a larger system because you can't add on with some homes.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to get a really good idea about the homeowner, your needs, your goals, then I'll decide. And sometimes, depending upon how many roof planes you have, I may give you 2 or 3 designs and then say, what do you want? Now I know, like, especially for my realtor friends, I know a lot of times for them, put it in the back of the house.
Yeah.
All right. So they might actually be losing a little bit money, but the fact that they have their curb appeal or their perception, because let's say it, perception changes with over time.
Right.
6 years ago, some people were like, no, never. Now some people are like, yeah, no, it's my 6 neighbors have it.
Right.
In our cul-de-sac. So,
and I think too, with that is, things change again, going back to how expensive things are. 3 years ago, we were like, nah, we like the aesthetic of the way it looks. We don't want to, I think the people who came wanted to put it on the front of the roof. And my wife was like, no, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it on the back of the roof. And the guy was like, we can't because this is where your house faces south and the whole 9. But I think really some of these things probably pivot when things might get a little more tight economically, right? Yeah. Like, extra $250 a month is $6,000 a year. Like, yeah, did I do that math right? Or is that $3,000 a year? That's whatever it is.
But it's more every year.
Right.
Because even if you have an escalator going up 2.99%, Well, Eversource is typically going up 5, 6, sometimes 20% in 1 year.
Hmm.
So your solar system, you end up falling more in love with every year. And the look of it, because I've had people who only went solar for the money aspect, that was it. And they didn't necessarily like the look of it. They got used to it. They were like,
Hmm.
yeah.
What are the aspects that people are considering when getting solar?
There's a lot of, kind of like what you said yourself, you just don't know a lot about solar. So unfortunately, a lot of people reach out to a company, they come in, somebody comes in, hard pitches them solar, and they go, yeah, okay, it makes sense and sign.
Sure.
What everybody should do is be talking to 2 or 3 people,
Hmm.
period. Like if that's one of the main points of this interview.
And
And,
that's where you fit in.
yeah, and honestly, when I'm saying that, it's kind of like counterproductive. How many business people say, "Oh yeah, you should talk to this people and that people, the other," because when they do that, then they'll get a better feel for what I do. Like I'll be the last one. Go ahead, see everybody else, then come see me, and now you'll see the difference in how I go ahead and design and the systems and things like that.
Who's your competition?
So a lot of people will confuse me with an installer.
Right. That's
I'm
what I'm
not a-
asking. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not an installer. So people, I even in networking meetings where I've been there for, a few months, they'll be like, Dave, I never see SunTastic Solutions trucks running around. I'm not an installer.
Hmm.
I hire the installers. If they do a good job for me, I'll keep giving them business. If they
Nice.
don't do a good job for me, we're gonna have some discussions, and I may cut them out, and that has happened.
We're in New England, not Arizona. Some folks assume solar isn't effective in places with cold winter or less years around the sun.
Yeah.
What do you tell homeowners who worry that solar might not work in Connecticut's climate?
Can you grow a tomato in Connecticut?
Can you? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
because there's a harvest time, right? So that's what you have to understand about solar is the days get longer, and the harvest time really in solar starts about mid-March,
Hmm.
April, May, June, July, August. During those months, you're producing more energy than you can possibly use during those months. So what does Eversource do? They figure out exactly how many kilowatts you've given them. Now you come into the fall and the winter, they give you those kilowatts back.
Do you
1-to-1. It's the best deal going.
do you think Eversource is overcharging people?
I couldn't touch that one with a
You
12-foot
couldn't?
pole. No.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, I can only say from the perspective of solar, I love Eversource
Mhm.
because they at least let you go solar.
Okay.
Buzz Relight and Power, Norwich, right?
Hmm.
They'll say you can go solar, but there's so many hoops you can jump
I
through.
should.
Nobody wants to bother with it.
Didn't mean to put you in the hot seat, Dave.
I think it's funny.
I didn't mean to put you. But it's that's all I see. Eversource is scamming. I mean, I'm paying for this and that and the supply, and you see, usually these go through cycles, and it's usually in the warmer months that people are
Crying about it.
crying about it, if you will.
But think about this, and they've been saying this for the last year or so. They need to do upgrades
to the grid.
Yeah, so
Okay.
they're going to hit everybody with about $4.3 billion upgrades over
Ooh.
the next few years.
Wow, that's huge.
So if you're crying now,
That's good that you just pointed that out.
and that's why I say that solar is like an umbrella to
Mhm.
what's going on.
Hmm.
All that goes on around you, my clients don't know about it.
Yeah.
They never knew about a public benefits
Right.
charge.
Right. I'll just put this into a perspective, and I'll ask you. So, from an insurance standpoint, when I am consulting, because I'm also a consultant, I don't push one particular product. I don't push one particular carrier, but I'm often realistic as to what could happen in a specific scenario. I'll give you an example. Hey, you have a 2000 and probably 11 or 12 Corolla. Do you carry full coverage on it? Yeah, you still carry full coverage on it. You probably still have collision on it. And you're thinking like, hey, I want to do it because I don't want to lose my car. If I get into an accident, what's going to happen? I need to get it replaced or repaired. 9 times out of 10, because the car is over 10 years old and probably has over 100,000 miles, the insurance company is going to total it out. So I say, hey, listen, if this is going to be something for you to consider, or if you're willing to consider it, drop the collision because it's going to cost you more
Mm.
down the road if you
Yep.
use that part of the policy, because that means that you put in a claim that affected you because you hit something or hit someone or hit, rear-ended somebody. Your car's not going to get replaced. So I tried to highlight the what if scenarios when it comes to insurance.
Yep.
What are the what if scenarios for solar that maybe people have to consider if it's the right move or not?
Sure. Sure. There's always going to be that because the world is very we're on shaky ground no matter what, right? So I guess the what ifs would be, what happens if the installation company goes under? That's a good
Mm,
what if. Well, that happened with SunPower, and what happened is other companies came in, took it over, and took over the lease. So, and then people were still able to come out and get get service and things like that.
could that happen more often with other companies?
You know what?
It's business, right? It could,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
business. It could happen with
yeah,
anybody, but
yeah.
it could happen, sure. But remember, like solar, unlike the car, there's no like moving gears up there on your roof.
Hmm.
You know, it's a very simple system. It's converting light to energy, and then going back and forth to the grid.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay. That's a good one. On the flip side, what's a truth about solar that you wish more people knew? Maybe something that doesn't get talked about.
The truth about solar is that most homeowners are going to save a lot of money by going solar. But it's also I wish that homeowners would think about future generations, because when you go solar, it's like you're planting, hundreds of trees year after year. I mean, it's that good for the environment. So you want to think about it like, well, at the end of your life, are you going to think about, hey, I had a really nice Corvette or this or that? Are you going to think about, like, how are my kids going to be doing?
Yeah.
So we want to bring our kids into a better world. At
Yeah.
least I do.
100%. I mean, I definitely do. Again, it goes back into the noise of, everything you're telling me. And again, I'm not in this camp. Somebody might have a 100% opposite viewpoint of what you're saying based off of whatever.
Sure.
And then that influences a segment of people. Again, I thankfully haven't gone down that rabbit hole. At the end of the day, today is what matters most. I need to, to your point, I have kids.
Yeah.
I need to pay for daycare. So if that's going to reduce my bill to pay for daycare in a little bit more easier fashion, and maybe put a little bit of money away for retirement or things like that, that's where my mind goes.
Right.
And I'm only 36, so I have 30 plus working years left. Unless I make $1 million in the next 12 months, kind of situation.
Yeah.
But those are that's the things I look for. The solar industry has grown so fast, and we just mentioned a company going under. And I don't know if that's a function of the industry growing and how fast it's growing. You see it with insurance companies all the time. They go insolvent because
Yep.
they can't pay their bills, if you will, keep the lights on. But you've mentioned to me before when we've had kind of just one-to-ones off this setting, and when we're at events or when we talk through Messenger, those companies don't always put the customer first.
Yeah.
Your company has been recognized for customer service, and you have glowing reviews about how you listen and you don't oversell. How do you build trust with clients with such a it's not divisive, but such a I would call it confusing topic for the average person who doesn't follow what's going on?
Sure. I mean, I spell it out for them. So very customer service focused, right from the discovery all the way through when I'm meeting with them. Um, it's just a process. And then at the end of the process, I've laid everything out to the client, and I go, there you go. So there's never a point when I meet with them, unless the client says to me, and there are certain systems that my clients would say to me, Dave, this is a no brainer.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it is. Are you ready to move forward? But if they feel like they want to think about it, I want them to think about it, because it's a big shift in how you're getting your electricity. I want you to explore all the options. I want you to know what you're getting into. And then when you're comfortable, and then I also tell them I don't have any customers that are unsatisfied that they went solar. No one.
This is a perfect segue, because I saw one of your customer testimonies said, and it stood out to me because I think when your competitor is advocating for you, or that speaks volumes. So said that even one of your competitors admitted that he couldn't beat the price, the quality and price that you offered. That's the way to do business.
Yeah.
There's a book called by Patrick Bet David, "Choose Your Enemies Wisely," and not that this is your enemy per se, but your competition is the opposite of what you're trying to beat them. What is it about the way you do business, whether it's the technology you offer, that or your approach, that gives you an edge in quality and value?
So, got to go back to my start in customer service was from the Ritz Carlton. If anybody knows customer service,
Hospitality.
hospitality,
Hmm.
they know, if you can make a change, a difference in somebody's day, I think they give you now a $2,000 budget.
Ooh.
No questions asked. Make the difference. Let them love it. And so I come from that background.
Yeah.
So when I'm working with my clients, I say, here's different types of panels, and this is why I chose your panels.
Sure.
This is why I chose. So I educate them. And then that way, if they do go ahead and get other, people to talk to them, they're going to be much better prepared.
Right.
So kind of like what I said before, I want to be that last person. I kind of don't mind if I'm the first either.
Sure.
Because they're going to ask better
Yeah.
questions.
And one of the things with education, and again, the parallels for me is just from an insurance standpoint, is I'll go back and say, hey, go do a review of your policy. Look at dwelling coverage. Dwelling coverage is the amount of coverage that will replace your home if there's a loss, up to the full replacement cost value. You want to consider a couple of things. You want to consider the cost of material today, how much it's inflated, and if that number is a couple $100,000 less, you might want to do a review. That's an educational moment, but it also puts it back on the client to go through the process of doing the research and finding out.
Yep.
I think that's how consumers learn. Not most people do that though.
Right.
What's a thing that you make sure people understand at minimum when it comes to this? So I got to imagine there's a laundry list of items that they have to check off the box. What's one thing, if there's 10 things on that items list, what's the main thing you want people to know and consider?
Well, there's probably a couple things, but one would be every home's different. So you want to see, and again, because I'm designing with different panels, I might be able to give you much different numbers than somebody else would be able to give you because I'm looking upon multiple platforms.
Sure.
The other thing is degradation. A lot of misinformation or misunderstanding about all panels degrade over time. But if you have a panel that's going to be at, say, 82% at year 25, and another panel that's going to be at 90%, you're going to save all that money in between.
And you're saying degrade meaning perform less.
Yes.
Okay. How big is that difference though?
It gets hail, on it.
Yeah.
Wind.
Lifts it up.
Yeah. And
That's a good one.
So expansion, contraction, the heat, right? These panels go through a lot.
Question about the wind, because this particular location where we're about to hit peak high wind season here, because we're probably one of the highest elevated areas here in this part of town. And once like beginning of October, maybe end of September rolls around, when it gets a little cooler, the wind howls. We're talking 40, 50 mile per hour gusts sometimes. How does that impact it? And when you think about the degrading of the solar system?
Again, it depends upon the panel. Some panels just perform much better over time. I'm designing one for somebody in Waterford right now.
I guess I'm asking what makes it perform different.
What makes your mics perform differently? Some of them probably look very similar, right? But you're going to get different performances from them.
Sure.
But this is big because this is how much money you're going to be paying out.
Yeah.
So if I can give you a panel that's 10% better over time, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
That's a huge deal.
Right.
So that's and that's so people can look at, for example, how much is solar being sold for on an average in Connecticut? So let's just say right now, people are paying 35 cents a kilowatt and solar is being sold at 24 cents an average. If I could come in there with a better system at like 18 or 19 cents, well, now they can, you don't have to really go dig down much deeper. You could see, is Dave selling a better product at a really good price.
Right. That's awesome. So let's see here. Can you share a story when you really had to go above and beyond for a client? Perhaps a challenging project or an unexpected problem that came up during an installation, and how you and your team or the installer handled it.
Sure. So when I first started out, most people were going for the low hanging fruit in the business, and a lot of people were getting disqualified. Now you have a roof problem. Now you have this, that. And I was like, well, I was treating people more like neighbors, family. And I
Sure.
was like, well, if you need a new roof, let me go ahead and talk to a roofer. Let's see how much that's going to cost you, and I'll bake it in. So that's a big difference in my business too. But these are construction projects, and yeah, things happen. One of my clients had foam blown in all over the attic, and the person went up in there. You could probably know what's going to happen. Um, Beautiful house, huge spiraling staircase going up to the second floor. Beautiful art, right? He stepped onto that foam and went through the.
Oh no.
I was there because I like to be there on installation day,
Yeah.
and I was like, don't worry, we're going to fix it.
Yeah.
Within 3 days, we had the third coat of paint on it. It was all done. So
Wow.
things like it's a construction project.
Yeah. Yeah.
When things are going to go wrong, but how do you manage them when they go wrong?
Right. Right. And how do you, I mean, you have to assume something will go wrong, right? Like that has to be,
A lot of go,
I'm not saying they don't,
yeah.
I don't say 95% of them go accurate, but it's those 5%. And for me, I like to make these connections because I'll think about, with insurance, it's so fast. I'm talking to, probably 100 people, I'm probably talking to 30 people a week, but I'm making 100 phone calls a week trying to get to these 30 people.
Yeah.
Each individual conversation is different and unique. And from time to time, I can kind of, not on purpose, but I can miss something and I can fix it very quickly by notating the file and going back and making an endorsement. But it's in those moments that I feel like, oh man, I failed, even though this happened once or two times a year.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. Like with those that, I often have to remind myself, like, attention to detail.
Yeah.
Make sure you're paying attention to, because these are people's lives and people's product. People,
Absolutely.
this is their assets. What
Yep.
I'm literally doing, I'm taking money to protect people's assets. And it's very similar to you. You're taking people's money to basically reinvest in themselves, whether
Yep.
that be in the house or taking money to save.
Yep.
What do you find the most rewarding about helping homeowners go solar? Is there a particular moment with a client or a specific project that make you think, wow, this is why I do this?
Yeah. So what happens is, I learned this year one. What happens is the springtime happens for everybody who went solar with me in the fall or over the winter.
Sure.
And then the spring happens, and the days are getting longer. And then all of a sudden the light comes on, and I'll get a screenshot of their bill, and it'll be like 0.
Yeah.
Or one person had 1 month as it was really kicking up, they had a bill of 10 cents. And they said, what do I do? And I was like, pay them your damn 10 cents.
Right.
Your darn 10 cents.
Yeah.
So, that's when the light really comes on. So
Yeah.
that's kind of, I see that a lot.
Does that process take a little while for it to realize itself, in the sense of, like, I put solar on and the realization of money getting cut in half, or 10 cents or $300 less than what I'm paying?
Yeah.
Does that take a little time to get there?
It does. And it takes the spring, because that's the harvest time. So that's, again, gets back to why when people go solar with me now, I like to help them out a little bit, so that they're not like, oh, I'm paying 2 bills, and this and that. No, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it a few months for you. Then all of a sudden they see the other bill go, and now the solar bill's lower, and they're like, okay.
So there's probably a little bit of resistance in that sometimes when people make a decision.
It's more like, and to be honest, most companies don't even tell them about it. They don't want them to even think about
I
it.
would have never known.
They don't care. You've signed the contract. The solar's on your house. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But I tell people, I meet you in the supermarket. I meet you around town.
Sure.
So I know what's going to happen. I don't want them to be saying to me, hey, Dave, I got a solar bill. I got an electric bill. What's going on?
Yeah.
So I educate them. That's how it is. And I said, that's why I'm going to go ahead and cover you.
Good, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Couple questions here. We've been here for 50 minutes. It doesn't feel like it.
No, it doesn't
These
feel like it.
conversations go by way too fast. I can't do more than an hour sometimes. I want to do I want to sit down with someone for 3 hours. I want to do it like a Joe Rogan style, like 3 hour. But we'll see one day. No industry is perfect. What challenges or pain points do you see in the solar industry right now, especially for residential solar?
So let me understand. Word that another way to me.
Are there things that frustrate you or that you think need to be improved industry wide?
Yes. Yeah. In fact, there's been many times I've felt like I need to sit down and speak to the politicians and say, look, you need to correct A, B, and C.
Sure.
And the people who are selling solar should understand they should go through a test.
Mhm.
Just like insurance.
Yeah.
You have to go through a test.
100%.
I know. I looked at that. It's tough.
It's
Very tough.
hard.
And so I got all the way to the end and I was like, yeah, no, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
But solar needs something like that in place. And it's so right now it's a bit of the Wild West. And that's what I'd say to people. Don't buy from the first person who steps in front of you.
So this was the last rock the boat elephant in the room question that I have here. Okay.
Go, bring it on.
Solar has exploded in popularity, like we've been discussing today. But along that, there have been some bad practices, which I think you kind of alluded to just right now. Aggressive door-to-door sales tactics, confusing contracts, which I think is unethical, in my opinion. Even companies that overpromise savings, like you said. What's your take on this darker side of the industry? How can consumers navigate the hype and avoid getting burned?
Sure. So, and I did a whole interview with the Better Business Bureau that you can find on YouTube on this.
Oh, cool.
SunTastic Solutions, Better Business Bureau.
Sweet.
So a lot of that is alleviated by don't ever buy from high pressure tactics. Like I never put people at like, this is it, buy it now. Like that's just not me anyway. But the homeowner should never, they should say, I'm coming in here. I'm going to tell you at the end, I'm going to thank you and show you the door. You can leave me with what you got and I'm going to talk to other people.
Yeah.
That's it.
Should I put a no solicitation sign in front of my door?
If you don't want people to door knock, I'll tell you, because I do sometimes what you had mentioned when I have an installation going on actively. I'll tell people, hey, if the trucks get in your way or anything, here's my card. Let me know, and I'll take care of it for you. But if I ever see a, it could be like 5 inches big. I see no solicitation. If you're a good player, you turn
100%.
You turn around. You just walk away.
100%. Because that's listen. It's especially here. I like my peace.
Yeah.
Don't mess with me. You know, I got 3 kids, 2 that like to play outside, and when you're approaching me and my kids and stuff like that, the first thing is I instantly become guarded.
Right.
And I would prefer just call me. I'm not gonna pick up anyway, but call me. I would prefer that.
Yeah, but in the business, and you know this about me, I'm a member of 3 chambers of commerce and a networking group. That's how I like to
100%. And that's how you should get your leads in general.
But that takes work.
It does take work, but it's wouldn't you agree though that it takes the same amount of work, just different?
Yes.
It's and actually I think it's more lucrative when you're really building the relationships as opposed to knocking and trying to find your wins.
Right.
I've learned that. I absolutely hate making cold calls.
Yeah.
Because to me, I'm burning both ends of the stick. By the time it's time to network, I don't want to do that. Like it's exhausting. So I want to allocate the resources and energy needed to build my business in relationships, just being in person or doing stuff like this.
100%.
You know what I mean?
But let me give you a tip. Because if somebody here's somebody ringing their bell, a lot of us have Ring, right? Just ask them. They should have an HIS license. Could you mind holding your HIS license up to the door? Okay, so they hold it up to the ring. They can see it, and then you could just say, if you have something to leave, just leave it. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's good. That's a perfect clip to let people know, like, back off.
Yeah. It's one way.
And again, I'm not like I understand people are trying to earn and make a living, and I know people in the industry who are door knockers who have done really well. This isn't I know people hate my cold calls as much as I hate people knocking on the door. Like it's just the nature of the business. I just don't like being interrupted.
Yeah. I get it.
All right, couple more questions here for you, Dave. Looking ahead, where do you see Where do you see residential solar in the next 5 to 10 years? Are there any exciting innovations or trends on the horizon that homeowners should know about?
Mm. Everybody asks about like the panels replacing the roof. Right now, everybody's tried to do that,
Interesting.
and problem is
That seems
the
super expensive.
the panels just make a lot more power than wavy tiles and stuff ever could. So those, but they could get to a point. I also think that there's going to come a point where your windows will be
Ooh,
your solar panels,
cool.
and that will generate the electricity.
And I would assume would be cheaper because they're smaller, right? Yeah,
Well,
no?
I think like if you compare with the cost of a regular window, I think it's going to be a lot more expensive, but it's
Okay.
making you money.
Right. I meant the cost of the panels on the roof.
Oh yeah. I don't know, but
No.
I think that's going to be in the
Because
future.
usually,
We're talking 10,
yeah,
15 years
yeah,
down the line.
usually with technology, things get smaller
Mhm.
and become less expensive. Like
Yes.
think about a computer. I think the first MacBook was 3, 4 thousand, or first Mac computer was like $3, 4 thousand,
Yeah.
and it was this little box. And now in 2025, we have our iPhones, and it's a fraction of the cost
Yeah.
of what that was. So that would be my hope, that stuff kind of comes down in price a little bit.
What's going to happen is the panels have been getting owned 6 years that I've been in. The panels have been getting better like this, very very slowly. They get a little bit better. What's going to be the big change is the batteries.
Mm,
Right now, the batteries can go ahead and be your backup for a couple weeks. I don't push the batteries; they're very expensive. My installers hate that I don't push the batteries
sure.
but I put myself in your shoes.
Right.
If I were you, would I buy a battery right now? No.
Right.
In 5, 7 years, they could be much more powerful and half the price.
What's the battery do?
So the battery is the backup so that when you lose power, your lights wouldn't even flicker. You just instantly transfer over to the battery backup.
So it's a generator essentially.
But you don't have that loud
Yeah.
generator noise. It's just silent.
So let's just say I have a battery here. I have a generator as well. Does it now take out the generator's capabilities or basically replace
I
it?
guess you could have that as a backup if your battery then runs out.
And
of
the battery is getting
electricity.
charged by the solar panels.
Right. So what happens is the power goes out. Let's just say it's daytime right now outside. Somebody takes down a telephone pole, right? Or something like that, heaven forbid. But you become your own microgrid now.
Mhm.
Your sun's still out. You're still generating power and it's feeding into your battery. Unlike my clients who don't have a battery, by law, the system has to go off because if it was exporting to the grid, you'd blow somebody off the wires.
Wow.
So there's reason for me to sell batteries when I would be a buyer myself.
100%.
You know?
Yeah, that's a good point. How important do you think rooftop solar is in the broader fight for sustainable energy and against climate change? Sometimes,
Oh, right up there. And here's why. I mean, first of all, there's people building huge solar fields. We've all seen them, right? But that's so that that town can go ahead and supply you cheaper electricity.
sure.
You don't need a middleman. If I can save you even more money by you putting it on your rooftop, well, that gets rid of that. You don't need that. And you want less middlemen in America.
Mhm.
That's what we want in America.
Yeah.
We want to be more self-sufficient.
Yeah. And that's ultimately like kind of what I was saying earlier. Like less middleman, that's where the government, like I wasn't sure if that's the right thing or not. So I got two more questions, a little over time. It's all good. Advice for homeowners, for listeners who've been thinking about solar while listening to this. What's the first step you'd recommend for a homeowner curious about installing solar panels? Any homework that they should do or common pitfalls they should avoid?
Yeah. And we kind of talked a little bit about this, but one of them I'll mention is very few homeowners that I sit down with take any kind of notes. You're talking about something that's completely foreign to you. Take notes. How much are they selling you solar at? What's the degradation? What type of panels are they selling you? Treat it like you would treat a car.
Mhm.
People go ahead and put more thought into the next refrigerator that's going to last them 10 years,
Yeah.
then they do a solar system that could be on their roof for the next 35.
Mhm.
So put some thought into it, take notes, ask good questions, and see multiple people and throw me in the mix.
I love that. David, if our listeners want to learn more or even get a consultation, where can they find you in SunTastic Solutions?
Sure, they can call me directly, 860-303-7110. They can visit my website, SunTasticSolutions.com, and that's the entryway.
Awesome. And I like to always throw social media because I'm learning now in 2025, social media is a big driver, big driver of business, especially small business. Are you on socials?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, getting more involved in that, and I'm very involved in Facebook, where I get half a dozen, sales from every year. So,
Awesome. Awesome.
yeah.
Last, any last takeaways or advice that you want to give to the listening crew here?
Sure. Every homeowner should at least run the numbers.
Mhm.
That's a bare minimum. I mean, if you don't know what you could save, because I'm the first person to say solar is not right for every single home, but you should know that for yourself.
Right.
Run the numbers.
Awesome. Listen, David Mansulla, I appreciate your time. It's been a long time coming. It's been over a year that I should have had you on and done this a long time ago, especially with that credit going away here in January. It's in January that it's going away when the calendar turns, or is it the fiscal year?
It's good till December 31st.
Good to December
So I'm
31st
still signing people up.
to sign people up. And again, David has a promotion the first 3 months off on David coming up here next year. So if you're interested in getting solar, definitely check it out. Make sure that you like, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Share this episode with a friend because a lot of information regarding solar. Make sure you follow me on Instagram. Follow David. And until next time, man, I appreciate it. Thank
All
you.
right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.